morning. My name is LaShonda, and I will be your conference operator today. At this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the CA Release Automation Community Webcast. All lines have been placed on mute to prevent any background noise. After the speaker's remarks, there will be a question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question during this time, simply press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. If you would like to withdraw your question, press the pound key. Thank you. I will now turn today's call over to Mr. Tim Muting to begin. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, LaShonda. Appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. We're excited that everybody's attended here today. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with CA Release Automation 5.5. We just had a new release come out a few weeks ago, so we're very excited about that. And we've got a strong panel here to talk about all the new features from our product management team. Yuri Shiner, Paul Peterson, and Kai Weirda will be reviewing many of the new features and also give you a demo of what's some of the new features that we have with the product. Now first, for those of you who are not a member of the CA community, I do want to encourage you to join. You can go to communities.ca.com and sign up and then register for the CA Release Automation community as well. There's a lot of good information, a lot of good interaction, and you can connect with your peers and many of the experts in this area. So I did want to do that and call that out for you. We've got a lot of great activity going on in that community today, and it's growing every day. So that's great. I think Yuri Shiner is gonna kick this off for us. And I'll turn it over to him right now.
All right. Thank you very much, Tim, and thanks everyone for joining. Release Automation 5.5 is an extremely exciting release for us. It complements 5.0, where we introduced a new and a unique way to automate releases and accelerate deployment cycle. And it does that by adding some new great capabilities that will basically allow you to design your releases faster, and just in general, it automates additional aspects in the continuous delivery world. And it also reduced some DO that you might have during the actual execution. So 5.5 is a very extensive release. We added lots of great, cool features that we are going to talk about in the session today. We'll start with a deck. We'll go over the different features that we added and the value that they can bring to our customers and for our users. Then we'll jump into a live demo. We will see all that in a real system. And once we're done, we will open the line for some Q&A. So before we talk about the different features and capabilities that we added, let's take a moment and talk about the different areas of focus for 5.5. Every time we come to design a release, we identify the different areas that we would like to invest in. So in 5.5, we had 6 of these. We start with release automation. That is the area where we concentrate on adding new core features to the actual product to improve the productivity and to accelerate the process of designing the workflow and the deployment. Then we have the ease of use. This is where we put focus on improving the usability and simplifying the workflow, and obviously improving the look and feel of the product. Next up is the enterprise readiness. That deals with all the backend changes and the various features and requirements being passed by our large enterprise customers, mainly deal with performance and scalability of the product. We have a cloud and configuration management track that deals with integration with solutions from that area. We have a release orchestration, mainly deal with plugins and action packs that allow you to extend the product and allow the product to integrate with additional solutions in the market. And last but not least, we have the reporting that deals with improving the way we visualize the information and just gives you a better way to understand the value you're getting out of the product. So let's talk about the features, the new capabilities that we added. On the release automation track, we added some new additions. The big ones are shared components, the improvements to the pipeline overview, and out-of-the-box support for tokenized files. So shared components, that's definitely a great and a very exciting addition to our product. It's basically new capability that accelerates the process of designing workflows and enforce best practices among different teams. And it basically does that by allowing you to create workflows and different kind of deployment logic that can be shared across different applications and different teams. It is very likely that in large organizations, you have different apps and services that use the same technology. You may have a Java application or a Microsoft stack, so it is quite likely that you would like to do the deployment at the same way across those different applications. So now you can have one guy or one team concentrating on building the best practice on how to do the deployment for that kind of technology, and the different teams can just leverage that work and reuse the same piece, the same components. So as I said, it accelerates the development process, and at the end, it reduces the risk for errors during the actual deployment. This is basically how it looks like. We have centralized the shared components repository where you can see all the different components that can be shared across different teams. The important thing that we added here is the ability to have a versioning mechanism to each of these components. I'm sure all developers in the room will agree with me that that versioning is a key requirement for elements that you want to share between different teams. You can have different revisions, and each team can use any revision that's needed based on the technology and requirement. And at any point, if there is a bug you want to fix or something you want to optimize or change in a given revision, you can go to that revision, you can branch out of it, make the change you want, test it, and at the end you can package it and publish it. So every team, each team that actually use the original revision can easily upgrade to the newer one and just enjoy the benefits of the revision that was released. So it's extremely powerful addition to our product, and we're going to see that in our demo shortly. The pipeline overview is a new thing that we added to our product in 5.0, and we got extremely positive feedback. It's basically a new overview that improved the way we visualize the high-level status of the different environments and different applications. As a user, you can see the different applications that you are responsible for and the different environments associated with that application. For every environment, you can see the status of the latest deployment, the time of the deployment, and the build currently installed in each environment. So as I said, we got really good feedback on that, and people definitely understand the value of that. But we did get some feedback and requirement to add some, I would say, basic planning capabilities to that. So this is what we did here, and in 5.5 you can use the deployment pipeline overview to promote release from one environment to another. It basically ensures that the same content will be deployed across the different environments until it reaches the production. You can also see all the pending releases for a given environment. You can schedule the releases. You can see if there is any kind of approval you need to address in a specific environment, and some other planning mechanism. So it's a great addition, and I'm sure you're going to like to enjoy it, and you'll like to use it, and we'll see the value of that. Tokenized file support. It's quite a common use case to have files that have some tokens within that need to be changed and to be concreted with actual information for every deployment. Let's take as an example configuration file. It is quite likely that you guys have configuration files with some tokens, and these tokens need to be replaced with environment-sensitive data during just before the deployment, and then you use the actual parsed file during the deployment cycle. So it's a very tedious work to manually or even write a script that replaces the tokens with the actual data, and even the slightest error or slightest mistake might lead to an error during the deployment. So in 5.5, we are eliminating all that by introducing a new way to manage all those tokens. You can define the different tokens that you have. For every token, you can configure its format, default value that can be changed in different environments, and as soon as the tokenized file is part of your package for the deployment, the system automatically replaces the tokens with the environment data and use the concrete file for the deployment. And of course, everything is audited. You can see exactly which tokens and which tokenized files were used in each deployment. Let's spend some time and talk about the things we did around the ease of use track. So as you guys probably know, we currently have two different clients. The first one, called the ASAP, or the Automation Studio, deals with everything around building the application model, handling process design and execution, and some of the administration tasks like user permissions, server management, and etc. We also have the second client, the Release Center, which is a web interface. So we are now in the middle of a process of migrating everything from the Automation Studio into the Release Center to consolidate that with a single view in a web interface. So in 5.5, that is the first phase, and we introduced a web designer for process and execution for the application model, environment creation, agent assignment, and all the really important things that you guys need to do. So you do not need to juggle between one interface to another when you're doing all these operations. We're going to see that in the demo as well. Okay. We added, this is also another great addition to our product. We added a highly customized and flexible dashboard that really improved the way we visualize all the information and basically all the work that was done with the product, with the solution. And as I said, it's extremely customizable. You can add different widgets and reports to your own dashboard, and that can serve as a landing page to the system. So as soon as you log in to the system, that will be the page that you will see. You can customize the data you'll see here. You'll customize the way you want to see that data, and etc. It's really, really cool. You're going to see that in the demo as well. It's interesting to understand that the way we designed and built this dashboard, we can ship additional reports and widgets outside of the product, very similar to the way we currently deliver action packs. So as soon as we were able to ship action packs outside of the product, it really increased the number of packages that we have. It's just easier to manage it that way. So just like the trend we saw on the action packs, you can definitely expect to see a decent amount of additional reports and widgets coming up in the near future. The next item I want to talk about, and this is also a very exciting one for us, and that is the integration with Chef. We did a very extensive work for providing a seamless integration with Chef for environment configuration. I will let Paul, our PM responsible for that work, to elaborate a bit on that. So, Paul, please go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Uri, and good morning, everyone. Yeah, as Uri said, we've taken a much more integrated and seamless approach to working with the configuration management space. As you're likely aware, we've had action packs for Puppet and Chef and other config vendors in our portfolio for a while. But as we've been looking closely at this space and how it's been evolving, we decided to make a much more seamless and much more tightly integrated exercise for or solution for people that are leveraging configuration management solutions. So the goal here, as Uri was highlighting, is make this a seamless exercise for the config teams and the release teams, so that we can address basically a common baseline across those environments. So on the right-hand side here, you can see, we know that configuration management solutions are going to define and maintain the state of servers, but what we've added here is now through this integration and building upon our existing capability, the ability for us to do a baseline and cross-check configurations coming from the config solutions against our application and deployment baselines, where we can therefore determine drift across the middleware, the applications, and the environments. This is different, of course, from the drift that you would see from your config solutions, which is very node-based. And what we bring in here is that next layer on top of that, if you will. Next slide, please, Uri. So just a couple of things that are in here where we look at kind of this combined use case approach and the value that's related to it is a pre-deployment verification of environments. So, the config solutions that are out there, their goal is to ensure that the underlying infrastructure is being maintained in a specific state. So we want to leverage that particular capability that people are deploying these functions for. We want to ensure that known state, identify any particular points of failure as you look to do your deployment. We want to know those things and understand so we can address and remediate those solutions or those issues before those deployments take place. On our side, we're looking at a higher level analysis as well around release management analysis, establishing these baselines, dealing with configuration drift reporting across environments, applications, and deployments over time. Next slide, please, Uri. Just a couple of screen captures here. This is from the new dashboard that Uri had just highlighted. We've got a few different reports that we were bringing in to bear with this release. Basically, the run configuration, throughput, and success rate. So are we having any issues with the run deployments that we're seeing coming from the underlying config solutions? Are there any configuration drifts that are happening within these environments? So our solution is going to understand any change that happens underneath from the config solution, and we track that on our side. We would expect, we expect that once we baseline an environment, there are going to be changes that will happen coming from the underlying, set of recipes and cookbooks and those types of things that may be changing. We understand all the versioning of those types of changes that are in place and understand how they might impact our particular solution. The bottom one here is just a highlight as we look at some of the deployments. So this is a view of the config runs when we look at our overall set of deployments coming from our release solution. So you can see here, was there an issue? It failed, it drifted. Was there a failed node that had come from that particular environment? Was there an issue with it? Next slide, please, Uri. So part of the goal here was to make this a seamless exercise. We have this now, instead of it being an action-packed approach, this is directly integrated into the solution. We have a out-of-box type of capability for defining the connection into the Chef environments, be it enterprise, regardless of whether or not there are instances and organizations that are involved. And probably the other main element here is that we've incorporated it right into a new stage of our deployment. So we have a new environment configuration stage where we make our calls and we deal with the runs on the Chef side right in stream with our particular deployment. In this particular case, the screen sample we're looking at here was a successful deployment. There was no drift, there was no changes, but you can see here all of the details that are associated with that particular Chef run in support of our overall deployment. So, the run lists were matching against our baselines. There was no drift that was in there. The recipe content didn't change, all of those things. So it's all incorporated directly into the status of our run here, and then we report on it over time through the KPIs and the different reports that were shown on the previous page. So with that, that's just a quick overview of some of the capabilities on the config enhancements that we did for this release, and we can go to the next slide and go from there.
All right, thank you very much, Paul. Again, that is a great integration, and if you guys are using Chef, make sure to check this new addition to our product. Before we jump into the actual demo, let me just talk a little bit about RDK, the Rapid Development Kit that we recently introduced. This is a great way for you guys to extend the product by basically developing your own custom action packs. And I use the word development, but you do not need to be a developer. You do not need to have any high technical skills, know how to write scripts or Java or whatever. It's a wizard-based solution that guides you, takes you hand by hand, and you just need to provide the metadata for the different actions that you need. You just need to provide what you want to do, and the system automatically generates action packs that you can deploy into your RA system and use those custom actions as part of your workflow. And obviously, you can share it with other people using our solution. So it's a great way to just customize it and do your own implementation for homegrown products. Okay, so with that, after we saw, just a high-level explanation of all those new capabilities, I will move it to Kai to show us all that in a real system. So Kai, let me pass you the ball.
Thanks, Uri.
Sure, whenever you're ready.
I'll start by sharing my application. And hopefully you can now see my application.
Yes, we can.
Awesome, let's get started. So in the next 15 minutes or so, I will walk you through some of the highlights, the new capabilities in Release Automation 5.5 that Uri and Paul have been talking about. So first, let's have a look at this new dashboard. As Uri said, this is now the default page that all Release Automation users will see. And it is a central portal for insight into key metrics, historical reports, as well as actionable widgets. So let me give you an example of an actionable widget. There's two on the screen here. There's the Getting Started widget. This is really for new users.
Kai, could you do me a favor and speak up a little bit? It's very hard to hear you.
Is it? I'm sorry. Better?
Thank you. I just want to make sure everyone can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. I'll continue. Ping me if audio is still bad. So this Getting Started widget is there to familiarize new users with the product. So it provides direct links to common activities in the UI. So for example, if I wanted to design and test a process, if I click this link, I'm transported to the right location in the UI, etc. Then the quick links obviously gives you access to resources about Release Auto, such as the online and offline documentation, Release Automation community links, YouTube channel, etc. Then below there is an example of a KPI. So this visualizes a particular metric, in this case deployment throughput and success rate, where you can see in December I ran 31 successful deployments, and I had one failure, which gives me the success rate of 97%. Okay, that's another example of a KPI on the dashboard. That also facilitates showing us the historical data. So as we built this new facility, we came out with a more consistent way to present tabular data. So we use this common grid control, which gives you a better way of filtering, for example, by just clicking on the column, show and hide columns, etc. So it really gives you a fully customizable capability on how you want to present your historical overview reports. Talking about customization, the user add your own pages. So I can just call this My Page and hit Save. I have a new page. Here's an example of one of the things we improved around the user experience, in that when we present a blank page, we don't want to have the user have to guess as to where the user needs to click on. So let's just click here, add some content, and then you have a choice of widgets and reports to choose from. So let's pick one here and another one here. All right, and if I'm not happy with the layout, I can still go in and modify it and choose a different layout if I want to, like so, and then move things around where I want them. And of course, I can also make this my home page. And the cool thing is that this information is all persisted. So if I log out and log back in, I have the exact same view, and I'm presented the data that I need and where I need it. This is not only for the pages and the page layout, but also for any configuration you do or filters you set in widgets or reports. So it really is a good way to persist that dashboard information and give you, that consistent access from wherever you access the dashboard. One last thing on the dashboard about the extensibility. As Uli said, this was designed with extensibility in mind. So just like action packs, you have the ability to extend the content as it becomes available. So for this, we added a new administration page called Dashboard Content under the Admin tab. It shows me I have available on this instance now, right, the separate reports and widgets. And then this new or updated dashboard content becomes available, and you can use this upload button to deploy this to your Release Automation instance. So that's a really cool feature to keep extending the content, and this is something we make available on a continuous basis. All right, that wraps up the dashboard demo. Next thing I wanted to show you is the enhancements we did to the pipeline overview. So as Uli said, this is something we introduced in 5.0. Just to summarize it, for my application, Robot Store and Project Sprint 1, this visualizes my pipeline. I have QA, system integration, test, staging, and production. I can see that in all these environments, I have built Monero deployed, right? And what we've added in this release is the ability to run or schedule deployments, as well as promote deployments from one environment to the next. First, let's have a quick look as to what is available in the QA environment. So it shows me details of the last deployment in that environment. And of course, I can drill down to the actual deployment to see all the details, right, including the configuration data that Paul mentioned earlier. but also I can see what are the pending deployments for this environment. So you can see there's a build 3 and a build 2 pending here. And then I can either schedule that deployment, right? Let me show you let me quickly show you the scheduling widget available for that. But also I can run that deployment right from this view. So let's do that. Let's deploy build 2 to the QA environment by pushing on. It asks for confirmation. I say yes, and it will give the system a few seconds to update. So now we instantiated this deployment. You can see the screen is updating. Same is happening at the background. Click this. And this won't take long. We just wait till this finishes. And then once we're done deploying this build 2 to the QA environment, I will show you how we can then promote build 2 to the other environments in the pipeline. Okay, it is done, succeeded. So now you see in QA, I have build 2.0. Now I have 2 promotion options. We have the simple one, which is to promote to the next environment. Obviously, since this is a pipeline, release auto is aware that the SIT environment is the next environment. But we can also customize the promotion. So here you can do things like, give the deployment a name and a description, and also if you wanted to, you can target multiple environments at the same time, right? Let's do the simple promotion, which is to promote to the next environment, and click that. Yes, I'm sure. And basically, you'll get the same experience as we just saw. The screen will update, and we should see. Yes, you can see here, build 2 is now being deployed, right? And you see the progress indicator as it runs the deployment. So to deploy to production, you basically repeat the process. So that's a very easy way to do deployments, promotions right from the pipeline overview. Okay, that summarizes the deployment pipeline overview demo. Now let's have a look at this new designer. So the new designer experience, and then in particular the new ability to share components across applications, also known as the shared components capability. So for this, we go to the designer, share components, and let's start on this page. So it allows users to design reusable deployment best practices that can be used across applications. And on this page, we provide centralized management for all deployment logic that should be the same across applications. So for example, here I have a best practice for WebSphere. If I expand there, we go to the deploy flow. You see best practice for deploying an EAR file to WebSphere. Some of the capabilities, but also terminology that you may be familiar with from using source control systems. Again, revisions, committing, branching, just to name a few, is what is supported in shared components. And if we go here in the tree, you can see that version 1.1, and if I click, we can see the working revision is 1.1. So this has been committed and is therefore shared and therefore available to applications. So it's important to know that these revisions are like snapshots, right? So you can share these snapshots without having to worry about other people modifying it as they use it. This is really important. So this gives you complete confidence that no one will deviate from this best practice, right? It ensures consistency. It reduces possibility for errors. But also, if you look at it from a continuous process improvement perspective, I can branch out, right, create a new revision, make updates to this best practice, and then make it available to all of its consumers. All right. Now that I've explained the basics of shared components, let's see how we can create a new process with the new process designer and see how we can leverage shared component. So switch to the new process designer, which is now in Web UI. This is my test application. I have a couple of components here, and one of them is in fact a shared component. I'm not sure if you can see this on the WebEx, but the shared component has a slightly different icon. There's a person outline in it to indicate it's a shared component. Also, the version that we're using, 1.1, is available. So if I go out to the Process tab and I select a new or create a new process, again, the big easy button here, add process, call this deploy, choose the appropriate server type, which is application server in my case. Hit save. Now I have a new process. Now I can simply add, just like any other component, a flow from a shared component, which I'll do now. Let me just collapse this and drill down into the available flows and pick the deploy WAS flow that I showed earlier. Add and close. So now I'm using this best practice as part of my process, and I can save this. Now, as I said earlier, we can go and change this best practice and then propagate the changes to all of its consumers. So let's see how that works. Save the process. If I switch back to share components and look at my working revision 1.1, it's very easy for me to make a branch. This 1.2. Okay, now that's my working revision. Now let's see how we can modify the best practice. So here's my best practice, essentially, deploying an EAR file, doing some synchronization, and then starting the application. Now let's imagine I want to restart the server before I do that. So we can make a quick change to this best practice. Let me just delete this link and use drag and drop to add a flow in here. And I'll do this quickly. Create link and create another link. Right, so I've updated the best practice. Let me save this. And the next thing, remember when I mentioned snapshot, I need to now commit this revision 1.2 to make it available to the other consumers. So let's do that. Commit. Here's information again. What am I doing? I'm locking it, right, preventing others from editing it, and I'm making it available to other applications. Let's do that. Note how now a path log icon appears here. Okay. Now, from a process design perspective, note how in my components tree here, I'm still using 1.1. What I can do, right from here is, hey, I want to use this new revision. Let's use this switch revision option here, which will show me the available revisions. Pick 1.2, the one I just committed, hit switch. I'll get a confirmation message. And now, if we go back to the process we just created, right, deploy, you'll notice that I'm now using that updated best practice automatically. Okay, so that concludes the demo for today. Back to Uri for some final slides and Q&A.
Thank you very much, Kai. That was a great overview of the new capabilities. Obviously, you will have a better understanding of the value once you actually evaluate the product by yourself. Okay, before we jump into Q&A and opening the line for that, I do see we have several questions on the Q&A panel. Some interesting info about how customers are using our product. Tim, can you say some words about that?
Oh, sure. Thanks, Yuri, and thanks, everybody, again. So if you do, just a quick note, if you do have questions, please use the Q&A button. That should be right there in front of you. You can enter your questions there, and we can take them as they come. We've got a few right now. But in the meantime, we've got a lot of new material out on CA.com if you want to go out there. Some new case studies with Swisscom and Molina, as you can see here. There's we have posted a video that was done, a session by ING at CA World this year that is very compelling story from them as well, a new assessment from the analyst group Obum on release automation, so we'd like you to take a look at that. And then also we've got a brand new case study that we've done internally with our own GIS, Global Information Systems group here, using CA release automation with Salesforce.com deployment. So it's an interesting study there. So there's a lot of new material, a lot of more material as well. If you go out to CA.com/release automation, you can find a lot of more information around that. Again, I want to encourage you to participate, join, register for the release automation community site as well. And it's been a very good session. Let's move to what questions we do have, and I encourage you to go ahead and use that Q&A button for more.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Feel free to keep posting questions on the Q&A panel, and of course, you can use our community to post additional questions offline. We and the other PMs tracking the community on a regular basis, and we try to address all the product-related questions. So we do have some questions here. First one is on what happens on the pre-deployment verification. So as now, we actually have two automatic, I would say, verification or validation phases. Let me just quickly jump into one of the slides that we used. There you go. So here this is a deployment that has finished its execution, and on the right panel we can see the progress. And if, for example, there is an error during the deployment, we outline it here. And let's focus on the first two items. We have the validation phase and the environment configuration phase. Those are two automatic phases. The first one is the validation. This is where we're actually, I would say, compiling all the deployment information, and we alert you if there is a problem. One of the things we're checking, for example, is whether we have all the necessary information about the environment parameters, and whether all the machines, all the agents where the deployment should take place are currently online. We're also checking that all the artifacts that we need resides in the repository. So we will not have any surprise during the distribution of the artifacts. All in all, this phase, you basically run it before you do the actual deployment, because you don't want to have any surprises during the deployment, especially to production environment. So we compile the data, we let you know whether everything is okay with the deployment, so you can safely run it when needed. The second automatic phase, that's the environment configuration. It pops up here only if you are using the Chef integration. And during that phase, we are executing the cookbook that was defined for the given deployment. And we also version all the different recipes that are part of the execution. And here you can see all that information for the given deployment. So that happens, as I said, automatically, just for the integrity of the release. We had another questions about version management. So as Kai just showed us, we're versioning everything relates to shared components. And we definitely believe that most of the design of the workflow will take place in that repository, because we do understand, we hear it from our customers, that most of the stuff are shared, because you want to enforce best practice, you want to reuse the same workflows across different teams and different apps. So you manage most of the stuff there, and they are totally versioned. So we are versioning the components, the actions, the flows, parameters, everything is now versioned. And as Kai just showed us, it's very easy to go to any revision, branch out of it, make the change you want, commit that so people can just upgrade to that new revision. We have here another question about branching older versions. As I said, you can definitely branch any revision that you want, and you can upgrade from one revision to a newer revision in just a click of a button, just like Kai showed us in the demo. Upgrading from 4.7 to 5.5 works seamlessly. You can do the upgrade and you will not need to make any changes. However, if you want to enjoy the new capabilities that we introduced in 5.0 and 5.5, like the new deployment plan, the artifact package, the artifact distribution, then you may need to do some slight changes. We have a very good best practice document that help you to do that. And if you already have components that you want to make as a shared component, you want to add component that you already built and you want to add that to the repository, you can do that as well. So you can reuse things that you built in the past. Okay, any additional questions?
To ask an audio question, please press *1 on your telephone keypad. And there are no audio questions at this time.
Okay. So if there are, I do not see any further questions. Oh. Okay. So team, do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I think that's it. There is a polling question. Please, rate for us the value of this topic or this webcast. We certainly use that information as we do future ones, and we do have more planned. We'll go deeper into the product, and so stay tuned for a schedule to come out on more webcasts coming out. Again, visit us on ca.com, Release Automation, for more information around the product. Participate, join the community. We look forward to hearing from you. I appreciate everybody joining us today. Mary, is there anything else that we need to do to wrap up?
Nope, we're good.
Very good. Well, thanks, everybody.
This concludes today's conference call. You may now disconnect.